Good Thursday afternoon. Thanks for being with us on KARE 11 News Now. I'm Chris Harapsky. Breaking news this afternoon. FBI and police say they're responding to an apparent vehicle ramming into a synagogue and an active shooter situation. This is at Temple Israel in West Bloomfield, Michigan. It's about 30 minutes northwest of Detroit. Authorities say they are also responding to a fire in the same area believed to be from that car starting on fire inside the synagogue. You can see heavy law enforcement presence in the area. We're working to get details from our partners and from our feeds over there in Detroit. Meanwhile, the Jewish Federation of Detroit ordered all Jewish organizations to go into lockdown immediately. SWAT is there right now. There is law enforcement on scene trying to ensure that whatever is happening there is under control. Today, Iran's new leader, Mojtaba Khamenei, saying the Strait of Hormuz should remain closed as leverage. About 1/5 of the world's crude oil passes through that strait, making it one of the most vital energy checkpoints. This comes as Iran ramps up retaliatory attacks on key oil facilities and tankers across the Gulf, sending crude oil prices soaring again. Take a look at this video. Footage captured an oil tanker erupting in flames in the Persian Gulf. This is overnight. It's believed to be one of the 2 foreign tankers that were attacked in Iraqi waters. At least 1 person was killed. Iran claimed responsibility for those attacks, saying an underwater drone blew up the vessels and warning that the attacks will continue. Also this afternoon, a big update on the deadly missile strike on an Iranian elementary school. 4 sources tell NBC News outdated intelligence likely misidentified the school as a military target. More than 170 people were killed in that attack, most of them children. As war in the Middle East continues to escalate this afternoon, it's expanding into Lebanon. Israel says that it responded with a large wave of strikes targeting Hezbollah after the militant group attacked Israel overnight. This marks one of the heaviest fighting between the two since the U.S. and Israel began strikes on Iran. NBC's Richard Engel has the latest.
I'm now in central Israel, and this attack was carried out by Hezbollah, a militia group which is based in Lebanon, which is just over Israel's northern border. And Hezbollah and Iran are apparently coordinating their attacks, because when Hezbollah fired this barrage of rockets destroying this house, and you can see right over here where the actual rocket impacted. It landed in the ground, it dug this crater, peppering the building just over there with shrapnel and leaving very little standing of this house right here. The woman who was living in this house, an 86-year-old woman, and her caregiver were completely unharmed. They were inside a safe room, and according to a family member, they are in good condition. But the entry of Hezbollah into this war, or the intensification of Hezbollah's role in this war, because Hezbollah had been firing some rockets earlier on, but nothing like what it is doing right now. This was part of a barrage, according to Israeli officials, of more than 100 rockets fired at the same time. So Hezbollah's re-entry into this war, its open involvement in this war in a major way, does change the conflict, because with this coordinated front, you're seeing Hezbollah focusing its attacks more on Israel, and Iran focusing on the Gulf, attacking shipping to disrupt the global economy and increase gas prices.
Thank you, Richard. Gas prices going up again overnight as the cost of oil rose above $100 a barrel. Here in Minnesota, it'll cost you about $3.30 at the pump. That's up nearly 68 cents from last month. Nationally, the average is sitting at $3.59 a gallon, the highest price seen since 2024. Back in Minnesota, the BCA is investigating this afternoon after police shot and killed a man in Rochester, about 2 hours south of the Twin Cities. It happened about 9:30 last night. Police and a crisis response team went to investigate a man having a mental health crisis. They say that they were trying to bring him in for a 72-hour emergency hold when they say he started to struggle with officers. They say he grabbed for an officer's gun, which is when another officer shot him. He was brought to the Mayo Clinic, where he was later pronounced dead. Today, gun violence prevention advocates are calling on state lawmakers to make changes. Over the past few hours, students, teachers, survivors, lawmakers, they held a rally at the Capitol. They delivered a letter signed by 500 Minnesota teachers sent to lawmakers to urge a ban on assault-style weapons and high-capacity magazines. A bill to do just that is in the works.
I want to teach without the fear of gun violence. I want to teach without having to drill my students on how to hide from a killer. I want to stop planning how to barricade my classroom against rifle fire.
Tomorrow morning, there's going to be another rally in the Rotunda. Survivors from the Annunciation School shooting will also be there to urge lawmakers to ban assault-style weapons. Also happening at the state capitol today, hundreds of Minnesotans rallied in a call for lawmakers to pass the Minnesota Equal Rights Amendment. This proposal would allow Minnesotans to vote on a constitutional amendment. If passed, it would protect equal rights under the law, regardless of who holds the legislature or governor's office. Right now, Minneapolis tenants holding a rally calling on the city council to overturn Mayor Jacob Frey's latest veto. Frey announced that he was rejecting an ordinance extending eviction notices from 30 to 60 days. The council passed that resolution 75 last week, saying that it would help renters who are struggling with the effects of Operation Metro Surge. The mayor argued that it would make it harder for renters in the long run and proposed $1 million in emergency rental assistance instead. In a joint statement, 6 council members who voted for the extension pushed back, saying the mayor's plan isn't enough. Data from the city shows evictions are down 5% compared to this time last year. Affordability continues to be one of the top concerns on the minds of voters everywhere. In St. Paul, lawmakers are laying out their ideas to lower the cost of living. Here's Ian Russell.
If you feel like life is just more expensive, you're not alone.
Probably the bottom 2/3 of the income distribution where people are really feeling the pains with affordability.
Prices are already high, so any increase hurts even more. New data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics shows an inflation rate rising to 2.4% year over year, but remaining stable from January to February. St. Thomas economics professor Tyler Schipper says relief may not happen soon.
The longer the conflict goes on, the more likely we are to see those ripple effects to the economy, and that could get picked up in overall inflation.
Things like rent, apparel, and food all saw small jumps. Schipper says gas was already going up, and the war in Iran, not factored into this data yet, will also raise prices.
Minnesotans are feeling the squeeze.
Lawmakers in the House have introduced their own plans to help with affordability. House GOP members shared their vision Wednesday afternoon.
And our focus is simple. Let's lower taxes here in Minnesota.
Those plans also include additional tax relief, lowering health care costs and property taxes, as well as energy cost relief.
Make Minnesota affordable so hard work pays off.
For too many families, they're struggling to make ends meet.
House Democrats introduced their plans last week, focusing on groceries, health and child care, housing, and energy costs.
We don't think that anyone in Minnesota should have to choose between the drugs they need to live and paying the rent or putting food on the table for their kids.
Proposals from both sides, hoping to make life more affordable for us all.
Making sure that Minnesota works for all of its citizens, not just the wealthy and the connected.
There is no reason why Democrats and Republicans can't come together on more affordability here in the state of Minnesota.
And we'll see how this all plays out in this legislative session. It is unclear exactly when or how leaders may get that done. The legislative session ends in May. And developing this morning, KARE 11 is learning more about drug cases being dropped by the U.S. Attorney's Office. We know of at least 5 serious drug cases dismissed by judges over a 6-week span. The U.S. Attorney's Office hasn't said why, but it comes after more than a dozen experienced prosecutors resigned from that office. Doug Kelly, former assistant U.S. attorney, says dismissing cases is incredibly rare.
Unprecedented in my time of watching the United States Attorney's Office over the last 52 years. And in the old days, it was really a big deal to dismiss a case that had already been indicted.
Kelly says traditionally, when prosecutors get a federal indictment, they want it to mean they've got a suspect dead to rights. So dismissing an indictment is seen as embarrassing, he says, in the office. This afternoon, Lyft is agreeing to protect the rights of blind and disabled riders after settling a lawsuit with the Minnesota Department of Human Rights. Tori Andres, who is blind, filed the complaint after she says Lyft drivers repeatedly canceled rides when they learned that she would be traveling with her service dog. Under the settlement, Lyft must continue enforcing policies on service animals to make sure that drivers know it's illegal to deny riders based on disability.
I'm hoping that these changes will help myself, but also help the other service dog handlers in the state. This is something that I am not willing to give up on.
Lyft says it has had policies around service animals for nearly a decade, and all changes outlined in the settlement were already in place. The company also did not admit any liability or wrongdoing. Stick with us. We got more news and weather coming up after the break.